Welcome again to this production, which we call a Kemetic Production, where we say greatness and greatness and greatness. In this production, we're quickly looking at some Black history, particularly looking at Africa. We're particularly looking at the works of the great Queen NZINGA, who once ruled over the kingdom of Ubuntu during the period 1600, and she did some excellent work. She was a very intelligent queen. The Portuguese had a lot of issues and problems with her while they were trying to colonize that area. It is said that she actually fought off Portuguese imperialism for over 40 years, and this is one of the greatness of her career as a queen and as a ruler of her people. It is also said she also freed many people who were enslaved, and there's also a monument of her in Angola as a respect to her greatness. So let's listen in and let's tune in as my brother from Home Team History, he did a good piece of work on her, and we're just going to listen to it and learn and gain some knowledge, as it is written in Kemet, know thyself. See you soon. Like, subscribe, share, and enjoy.
And basically in Bundu society,
thanks for watching.
That meant that, you're going to be strong, you were going to be determined, things of that nature. So a woman came to her mom and told Zinga's mom that, Zinga, she's going to be a queen someday. And apparently her father took a liking to that. Her father was the Angola, or that's the name for, the king, or the ruler was Angola. So he would take Zinga to battle with him, and he would actually let her witness, his rule. And from that, from that foundation, she got, a real good understanding of how to grow a kingdom and to organize people. And just from that beginning alone made her really special. She had 2 sisters and a brother. After her father died, her brother took over. But it's interesting because in Bundu society, you just don't take over when the king dies. Like after the king, about how many people are following you, how many people like you. So if people are following you and people like you and you elite, then you can become king. But I guess with Zinga's brother, his father made, paved the way for him to, get likes or to, just get some notoriety. So the people voted for him to become the king. And so there's some controversy in with Queen Zinga, because after her brother died, she automatically took the throne. And the Bundus were just like, what are you doing? You can't do this. But she's so intelligent. What Queen Zinga did was she realized that in order for you to be legitimate, other nations have to look at you and be like, oh, okay, I acknowledge you as king or queen of this area or of these people. So what she did was she went to the Portuguese and she was just like, yo, I think I'm gonna become a Christian. And she got baptized. And so the Portuguese looked at that and it was just like, okay, well, maybe we gotta take her serious now. So basically she went to the Portuguese and she was just like, yo, I'm the Gola now, and in order for you to talk to the Bundu, you gotta go through me. And that's what she did, and the Portuguese was just like, okay. So she goes back to, Bundu land, and the Bundus were just like, you're not the queen, you don't rule us, you're illegitimate. So they were really indifferent to her. And this is why, because in many African societies, there's a matrilineal system. And the matrilineal system pertains to, the rulership. And the line of rulership in many African kingdoms and nations comes to the woman. So your royalty because of your mother, not from your father. So that was very interesting. So with Queen Zinga's brother, her brother's mother was the royalty. She was the queen. She was basically the main joint. Queen Zinga's mother was basically the side chick. So the Bundu elite was just like, you illegitimate. You can't come rule when your mom was just some concubine or some bed warmer. And so Zinga had a lot of problems with that, with the Bundu people and her legitimacy. But, like I said, she was so intelligent. She was able to manipulate Portuguese politics and Bundu politics at the same time and kind of combine them and make it so that she came out on top. And that was so intelligent that people look at her story and, you know, they go like, yo, like this chick has no loyalty to anybody. But if you take a closer look at it, you realize she had a loyalty to herself and to her people. But at the end of the day, you know, the Portuguese Union, I guess, came to nothing because like they were slave trading in the area, because basically the Portuguese came to Angola first of all because they were getting the business with the English and the French in West Africa or northern West Africa. So the Portuguese came down to Angola and it was just like, okay, we're gonna settle here in slave trade. But Queen Zinga was just like, you know, when they would have runaway slaves, she would adopt them and welcome them with open arms. And the Portuguese was just like, what's going on? They didn't understand that, of course. And so a lot of people have a misconception about how the Europeans came into Africa and started, you know, slave trade and stuff like that. It's called the slave trade, not the I'm gonna go into Africa with my gun, I'm gonna get some Negroes, you take the left, you take the right, we're gonna put the net over him. No, it didn't happen like that. It was kind of like, it was more so they had to go, these European powers had to go into Africa, right? And they had to learn the culture, they had to learn the politics, they had to learn the leader, and they had to manipulate all that, all those elements, and try and, you know, gain an advantage. And that's what many of them did. It was very rare for them to just go into a village and just raid and you know, pillage, because that would take too much time, too much money, too much effort. And honestly, if they didn't align with any other African groups, they probably would have got the business. So here's the thing. Also, a lot of people think there was some, you know, Pan-African Union, but back in those days, you know, it was, you know, I'm Bundu and you Bengala. I'm gonna tell you about the Bengala in a minute, but I'm Bundu and you Bengala, and you cross this line and I'm gonna sell you to some Europeans. That's what it was about. There was no Pan-African Black Power type stuff, you know. So the Portuguese aligned with the Bengala. Now the Bengala was some bad dudes, man. They were like the Spartans of that region. They were some bad dudes. I'll go in depth a little later or in the next video. But the Bengala, look them up. They were some bad dudes. The Portuguese realized that and they aligned with them quick. And so the Bundu had some beef with the Bengala, of course. So Queen Zinga, not being loyal to the Portuguese or the Bundu in particular, because, you know, the political duress she was under, she went to the Bengala and was just like, under their system in particular, and the Bengala philosophy, the Bengala society, she was able to rule because they allowed women rulers. They were fully accepting of it. So she went to Bengala, but then after a while, the Bengala was just like, yo, you're not even Bengala, like, you Bundu. So that didn't work out. She tried to have an alliance with the Dutch. You know, that eventually fell through. But the way Queen Zinga was able to manipulate so many different people and just understand the politics and the culture and kind of, you know, work it to her advantage. Like she was really involved in the slave trade, and she tried to free slaves. She tried to incorporate slaves into her armies, into her, you know, her kingdoms. She later went to the Matamba kingdom because the Matamba kingdom was weakened by the Bengala, of course. And so she went to the Matamba kingdom and they accepted her for a while. Her whole life was a struggle for legitimacy. Her whole life, pretty much. And the time when she was in Matamba kingdom, she was involved with the Portuguese, the Dutch, the Bundu, the Bengala, the Matamba. She was able to manipulate, you know, those people to her advantage and to the advantage of pretty much African people, her people, the Bundu, to help them out. And she used the Portuguese when she can, she used the Dutch when she can, and sometimes, you know, in boxing you got to take a punch to give a punch. And sometimes she would allow her own people to suffer so that later on in the future they can benefit. So the story of Zinga is very sophisticated, and I encourage you guys to take a closer look at it because it's really interesting. She was a queen, man, and she was a powerful, very, very powerful, intelligent woman, and a lot of people can look up to her because while she was there, Portuguese could never really get a super stronghold over that area because they were, you know, conflicted because of her political intelligence and her military might. Even one Dutch general was just like, yo, this woman is brave and cunning. Like, she's an amazing woman. And a lot of European scholars used to praise Zinga because of her intelligence and her wit and her ability to, work situations for her good. But it's sad because she always tried to gain that legitimacy because of, her story and where she came from. But through that, she was able to overcome the odds and become great. And today, she's Queen Zinga of Angola. And they have a monument of her of Queen Zinga in Angola today. And it's a beautiful story, and I encourage you guys to look at it, check it out, know thyself, and remember your ancestors. Peace.